Here's another clip related to the trans issue. This is a debate on the Dr. Phil show that's been going viral over the last few days. And I just want you to watch this. Check it out.
Transgender boys who might not have their own money to go buy tampons, if they're provided free in the bathroom, it's a huge plus.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are,
menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not
excluding
men.
a whole group of people
They're women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men. You are not a man. People pretend to be a man, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Live your life and tell me what a man is.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an example?
Science.
When we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You're just making it up. The people who hate the truth, are because they see the truth as hateful. If you want to identify in any way you can, you're free to do so. But that does not mean that the rest of us have to join that. You disagree, I disagree with you, and so you call it hate. But there's no hate in my heart at all. So that's
You
wrong.
are being hateful when you tell somebody that identifies
Okay.
as a man that they're not a man.
That's not
That is
hateful. That's a fact.
Well done by that guy. What's that guy's name? I think it's going up on the screen. I missed it. But brilliantly done. And especially pay attention to, the whole thing. He argued the case quite well. And I know, you watch that and you think, well, it's easy to argue the case because it's it's just basic common sense. Who have, and the argument that they're defending on the other side, there's nothing about it that's remotely defensible. So it should be easy to win these arguments. And you would think that, but the fact that it's so basic, I think, trips people up sometimes when they're trying to defend it because it's such a basic concept. And and on the other side, you're dealing with people who have no concern for the truth at all. And they will switch lanes so quick in the middle of an argument. That doesn't work. We'll go over here, then back to here, then back to, and you're constantly, it's like whack-a-mole. You're just following them around. And they try to confuse you and overwhelm you with so many. All their arguments are bad, but they throw so many at you. And they're not beholden. So for you have a certain position that's rooted in objective truth that you're defending. But they're not really defending any one particular position. They're defending like nothing. It's all in the ether floating. And so they twist and turn and spin all around and try to confuse you and change the subject. And that's where people on the true side can get tripped up, which is why you got to really pay attention to what he did when they said, well, sex and gender are two different things. He said, I don't accept that distinction. You have to argue for that distinction. I'm not just going to accept it. Yeah, you say there's two different things. You say that. I don't accept that. The mistake that a lot of people would make in that same situation is by having that argument, right? By getting into the fine distinctions between sex and gender. Instead, he said, no, you have to defend that. I'm not going to, that's irrelevant. That's got nothing to do with this. I don't accept it. And they did that because, remember, I said they'll switch lanes on a dime. So I thought it was fantastic because she throws the what is a woman question back at him, thinking that it'll trip him up because it trips her up. She says, or it's a man in this case. She's talking about what is a man. So, well, what do you say a man is? He says, well, XY chromosomes. That's what a man is. Well, why does the science matter? She went right from, well, you can't define this term anyway. Well, yes, I can. Here you go. Well, the science doesn't even matter then. What does the science matter? And then tries to kind of lose him in the weeds with the sex and gender thing, and he steers it back and says, no. We're not doing that. That's exactly how these things should be handled. But it is interesting to hear the advocates of gender ideology say, well, it's not about science. What if science doesn't matter? Because in so many other contexts, they're constantly telling us to trust the science, follow the science. The science is all that matters. Of course, that's exactly what they did with COVID. Wendy says, Matt, I really hope that you read my tweet. I cried so hard at the last scene of your beautiful, telling documentary. It's also simple, that last scene, so poignant. Thank you for protecting our precious future. Love and blessings. A lot of people have said they love the ending, which, and I tweeted something a couple days ago said, what was your favorite part? And a lot of people said the ending, which I love to hear because it took us so long to come up with that ending. I mean, it seems so simple, and it is, and that's the point. But we went through many different ideas, like how do we end this? We had the entire film, and we had it all done, and we couldn't figure out how exactly to end it. And this was like, we were weeks from it releasing, and we still hadn't actually figured out what the end is until we came up with this idea. And then you see it, it's like, how did that take you? How did that take you months to figure that out? Well, it did somehow. And because it occurred to me that Jordan Peterson set up the ending for us perfectly, we had filmed that months before, that interview with Jordan Peterson. And he said, I asked him, what is a woman? He said, marry one and find out. And I said, well, I should go home and ask my wife. It didn't occur to me until months later that, oh, well, that's the end. I should go home and ask my wife. So I'm glad that in the end we made the right decision there, I guess. Lisa says, Matt, I love the whole film, but nothing can beat the Africa segment. I agree. That's my favorite part. Favorite to watch, and favorite to also film as well. There's a whole separate documentary that we could make just about going to Africa for that week. It's a very different world in a lot of ways. And I think I've told this story before, but people always ask me where we stayed when we were in Africa, because we're down talking to the Maasai tribe, out in the African bush. Like, where do you stay? Did we stay with the tribe, or was there a Holiday Inn nearby? And the answer is none of the above. We stayed in tents about 20 minutes away. And they were nice tents. I mean, they were big tents. So they were nice and they were big, but they were tents. They were shelters made of canvas, which was disconcerting because we're out and there's a safari park right there. And it's not like, it's the safari park. When I say park, it's not like it's all fenced in. So it's the wilderness. And there are every dangerous animal you can imagine. They're all just like there. They could be in the woods at any time. And you could hear the hyenas at night, while you're sleeping in your tent with that little canvas wall. And it was thin enough that enraged baboons could rip through it and tear our stuff apart, which is what happened to our director and I think one of the person in the film. When they were not in the tents, baboon got in, ripped it apart. So that's what. But at least there were where we were staying this with the tents. They called it a resort, and I was told that we were staying in a resort in Africa. So I had certain notions in mind that was not a tent, but they had employees there, and at night they would bring you out to your tent because it's dark. And there could be animals out there. But at least they'd carry giant sticks. There was no guns, but they had giant sticks to defend you in case you were attacked by a lion or something.